Hey, everybody. Good morning. It's June 1st, June 1st of 2026. Welcome to the Dev Talk Show. I'm here with Rich Ross. How are you doing this morning, Rich?
Good morning, Chris. Good. Doing well. Happy to be doing a show. This is fun.
Yeah. On June 1st. I can't believe it.
I know.
If I had to write a check, I might put 2024 on it.
Right.
So
we don't do such things anymore.
So welcome, everybody. I may have used that joke already this year. So if I have, let us know in the comments. But we're here today to talk about, I think, some pretty fun stuff. We've been talking about how we can improve work on the show with like a show producer or maybe producer agents that, and in past episodes, we've had agents produce like show descriptions and even update the YouTube entry using the YouTube API, which I think today's entry was updated that way, right?
Yeah. So some of the stuff we showed last time, we'll kind of review a little bit, but we're using the tools. So
yeah,
this is kind of fun.
Yeah, so that's exciting. And then one of the things that I think we wanted to do for a while is have the ability to evaluate the show, whether we do it ourselves or have train an agent or teach an agent or agents, I don't know, by having a transcript of the show. And in the past, we have, and I think we've done it on the show, and I know we've done it live at Philly.net when you showed some work you've done to basically take an audio file and get a really cool transcript out of it. And so we're back to that, except I think it's more automated than ever.
Mm-hmm.
And using some APIs and tooling that is good to know for a lot of reasons, I think. So it'll be nice to go over that stuff because, I mean, I've used some of this stuff in other demos. Just a lot of times I'm really interested in the development process. And I think a lot of times as Azure developers, it's easy to get in this place where your development environment is just in Azure.
You're right.
You're like, well, let me just deploy it and see what happens. And, you know, it's cool to see that everything works, but it's not necessarily, I mean, I don't know how much longer this will be the case. We'll see. But it's nice to have local versions of things so that you can step through code, hit breakpoints, things like that more easily. So,
yeah, I mean, we've played around with some of the things that, local's kind of relative or can be, right? I've got a separate machine that I've got here that I'm kind of focused on doing these kind of demos. We played around with DevBox a little bit, which is a local development, but it's actually running in the cloud. So, there's those kind of flavors of it. I love doing DevBox, but sometimes you need to have a physical machine too. So.
Yeah, the definition of the word local is changing or has been changing because like you said, and it's been this way for a while, you could have a virtual machine or maybe a dev spaces style container. I mean, it doesn't even have to be dev spaces, code
spaces.
Code spaces is the word. I'm mixing that and dev containers because you could just have a dev container, right? So.
And they are related, right? If you have a dev container in your project, code spaces will easily run, if not, I'll create one for you.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you don't mind running Docker locally or maybe on a machine in your network. I mean, there's all kinds of interesting ways you could do it because.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in any case.
You could even extend it to WSL, right? We get that.
Yeah.
That other flavor running side by side. So, yeah. I think one thing we want to mention before we move in too far is we got a big event coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, just before the show, I signed up to go to build virtually.
Nice.
Because, okay, I didn't see you've already got it up there, which is cool. So here it is.
Yep. So using my integrated browser inside of Visual Studio Code. So this is just the this is the build website. Go out there and register to join. It's free to participate and join remotely. You get access to all the content, and it's not every session, because some sessions are just in person only. Those are oftentimes some of the some of the conversations with some of the product folks, but for the most part, you should be able to get just about anything they release publicly. You'll get access to if you register, and it's free. So why not?
Yeah, I mean, talk about, the events really evolved. I haven't been there since it was called Build.
Okay.
But I did attend PDC in 2000. That's a long time ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah.
It was in Orlando, and they announced .NET to the world. So
just as .NET was starting to come to make its way out.
Yeah, they gave everybody some DVDs. They might have been CDs. I don't remember for sure, so that you could go load .NET on your laptop.
Nice.
And we got a book that was definitely a very, very pre-release version. I want to say that Jeffrey Richter might have been one of the authors.
Okay.
It was basically talking about how to build with next generation Windows services, because the naming was not in there. So it was really a very interesting time. I can't. So then, you'd go and have breakfast in like a shared conference hall type area, and the conversation the next morning was so interesting because there were about 10,000 different opinions of what Microsoft announced.
Oh, wow.
Everything. I mean, think about it. The early days of all this, to know how it was going to evolve is just not, you didn't know. But
nope. It's been a long journey, which has been awesome. So
yeah, they announced .NET, and they told us how there were 3 languages supported. Well, not supported, I don't want to say that, but 3 main languages that Microsoft was shipping, because then of course they brought Fujitsu on stage to show us COBOL. So but it was VB, VB.NET. I think they were calling it VB.NET at the time, C# and C++.
Nice.
And so there were lots of talks around the table, like, well, which one's going to be the big one, right? Obviously VB, like Microsoft's army of, there's so many VB developers out there, like that's going to be the main one. And then others said like, oh, but for the performance, you're going to want C++. Those were the kinds of conversations that we had that week. It's very,
and I started with, that was when I switched out of, because I used to be like a business person, like in the, doing things as a in the clinical trial space on the business side, and I switched over to technology around that time, and picking up VB6, which was what was out then, and VB.NET as and starting to understand. And I came in from the VB.NET side because it was a little easier to kind of switch into, but it wasn't long before I ended up moving things to C# because all of the examples that I found for what I was working on were all based in C#. So I was translating them. Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, right.
So,
all right, cool. Well, everybody, hopefully we see some, we'll see.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited to see what's announced tomorrow because, there's always something interesting and new. So
can't wait. And I have, there will be usually just before or right at the start of the keynotes, there is an announcement of the book of news. At least that's what we've been doing for previous conferences, like Ignite and previous versions of Build. So I would definitely keep an eye out for that, because that's going to go through all the announcements, everything that we plan to share over the course of the, I would say over the course of the couple of days, even, so it's just to get, so you have it, you can at a glance or in one complete package have access to all of the announcements and then links to all the blog posts that relate to those announcements. So it's a good thing to have, as well as definitely checking out the keynotes, because there's going to be some awesome stuff shown there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I had no knowledge. I did not get a chance to see anything pre what have you. So this will be fun for me too.
Yeah, I don't know either. So all right. So let's take a look at this.
Yeah, let's dig in. So couple things. I had some time to look at a few things, and I guess one of the things that and maybe while I'm talking about it, if you could, can you jump into StreamYard and or into YouTube and create another event up there for us? I don't have anything because I went through and used the one that we did for today, right? So if you want to make one for the future, but in a second, let's go to here. So in our project here, and I did check in the last time we did this, which was probably last Monday, I think. It's been that long since it was a busy week. We had our tool set here, and our tools, and let me know if I need to zoom in a little bit on this. Essentially, we had our program here, which gave us a couple of a bunch of commands that we could do, right? So we could authenticate, we could find YouTube sessions that we've set up for broadcast, so kind of schedule things in the future. And then we could go ahead and update those, and we could get the status of those too, right? So those were the set of commands that were there. One of the things I wanted to do was have that interaction be a little better between finding an updated session and being able to do something with that. Because right now you would do a find, you would get the ID from that, and you'd have to copy that ID into the command to go ahead and do the update. So instead of all that, if I look at our update commands here, I brought in the Spectre console capability, so that NuGet package there. And that was kind of what I had envisioned to include, right? Something where I can get a list of them back, and I can basically start to walk through them. So that led to a couple changes here where, I don't, this argument here was essentially, it was a required argument. So now we've made it potentially could be a null argument for broadcast ID. And for the most part, that's how I left that functionality in there in case we need to do something later. Because in my mind, I started thinking through that not only maybe update wasn't the right place for this, and maybe this was more on the find one, and the find calls the update, right? So just thinking through some different ways of doing it. So that's why I kind of left that there for now. But the important part is down here when we get to, here we go, this interactive section here. So with broadcast being null, we're going to go ahead and fetch the upcoming broadcast. If the count is 0, then, we're kind of doing nothing. We did have, when I was running through this with Copilot, we actually have a, we had a plan. Research. Yeah, we had a plan here for how I wanted to implement the capabilities. And part of that plan was, well, if this value here was a 1, let's just go ahead and accept it, right? There's no reason to choose it. But I kind of wanted to put that back in the user's hand just to kind of say, hey, let's just kind of, even though there is 1, make sure that it is the one that you were expecting to be there instead of just going off and pushing it. So, but this control here essentially creates a prompt. It is taking a live broadcast object. It's getting the title. It's getting the page size of it. I guess there's 12 seems a little large, but okay. Page says how many choices that are displayed to the user. So it could potentially show 12 of them at a time. I don't think we'd ever get to that many scheduled that far out. We're not that planning oriented, as it were. But what it will then show is these two things here, which are, the schedule time and whether the privacy is known. Is it a public one? Is it an internal? Is it private? And then it'll put all of that and essentially format that back out to the user and be able to, that's what gets displayed out. And then those choices are basically put together, and we have the option to use the up and down arrows to select through them. And then once we get the broadcast ID, then it will go ahead and do the update bit, just like it's done in the past. So the only thing that has changed is this section in here around really this part around being able to make sure that we got a listing of all of the broadcasts that are up there. So hopefully, Chris, if you've created one, I can kind of show what it might look like.
You should see at least another one ready to go. Just one.
Okay. One's fine. It won't do anything with it, but
no, it's fine.
Mm-hmm. So
but basically, so let's just to set for the audience while you're working there is it's possible on YouTube to schedule events for the future.
Yes.
And we happen to use a service, StreamYard, which you can schedule the events through. But for now, as best we can tell, and so if somebody from StreamYard corrects us, that's fine. But looking through the documentation and everything, it looks like if you want StreamYard to use the YouTube episode and get all the features of StreamYard, you have to create the event through StreamYard.
Right. And there's no API to help us.
Yeah. There isn't some way to automate that. So that's a manual piece, which is, maybe someday there will be some other pieces there. But what we figured is well, okay, let's say we do that manual bit. Can we use the YouTube API to automate the rest that we kind of wanted? The show producer has come up with the show idea. Not the show idea, the show outline, the things like we have the show idea, and then it's okay, producer, can you build the description for it and put that into YouTube for us? And so basically what we're going to see here, I think, is when you run it, is you will see that I just created a second show out there, and then we'll override it with what you're going to do here.
Yep. So this is if you go back a couple shows, this is what we got created with the agent.
Yeah.
Right? So the agent, episode producer agent, gives us this run of the show, gives us a transcript that's or a description and some tags for YouTube. So that's what's going to get dropped in there. So we'll bring this back up here, and basically all I'm doing, we'll have to figure some other way to do this, right? Because I don't necessarily want all the episodes in this repo where all the rest of the code is. We're probably going to split those out at some point. But at least for right now, we've got this here. And if I do update, so again, remembering previously we had the copy in some kind of an ID. We don't need that. It has the information about the episode, because what we're saying is whatever one we pick, part of the way this works right now is we're going to go ahead and predefine what episode we're going to populate that with. We might want to in the future, have it as 2 steps, right? Pick the episode that we're going to want to use, because that might be living somewhere else, and then have another section that gives us what we're going to broadcast to. Because there's no choices, we're kind of locked into this here, but I'm guessing that's the title you gave it, making a game with monogame.
Yeah, it's fine if it overwrites it. I could make another one if you want to see the choices.
Let's do that. I'll just quit out of there.
Yeah. So
and then you just TBD for title and description. This way we can. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So. Oh, that makes a new one. Okay, hold on. Sorry, I didn't want this to be this difficult.
All good. I think there's anything we can say while we're waiting. It is interesting because we do get this, full-on list of, hey, what we're going to be talking about and how we expect the show to go. And I've already blown past that because we're not talking about the architecture here. We're talking about kind of jump down to this part already. So sometimes that's what happens. So it's kind of interesting because we usually don't have any kind of a script, or we think about, hey, this is the general topic, but we typically don't have some kind of a script that runs us. But trying to use this to make sure that I guess we hit our marks, as it were, for the show.
Yeah. So okay. So let me see. I know sometimes this doesn't show up immediately, but yeah. Okay. So that there's now 2 episodes that are planned for the future. So just especially if you're familiar with YouTube, what we have is, if you were to go to the YouTube channel now, which if you're watching in the future, things will have changed already, is the API is pulling it's pulling future broadcasts. It's saying this channel has these 2 broadcasts scheduled for the future. So which one do you want me to change?
Right. And we have that choice where we can, select between up and down. We'll go with this one because this one has, a different, I know we had one created for the Space Rocks one, but we'll save that for when we actually really do that show, because we do want to do that show soon. Yeah. So by doing this, I can go ahead and do the update and update it successfully. And then I think, can't remember what status is. Yeah. So we can see here that, and the formatting can be a little different, but we can see that we've actually gone and we've generated our episode, and we've got that enriched information there with all the extra description. And it's funny, that enriched category comes off of the fact of how many characters is in the description, because you figure if you're not doing a lot of characters, you're probably just putting it up there. But if you have over, I think it's 200 is what it arbitrarily set to, that it is quote unquote enriched that stream there. So, and there is some, I got to work on there should be some icons, or and I might have to change what those are, but those question marks should really be emojis or images that should be displaying alongside of that. So I got to figure out why that's not working.
So it's interesting because I'm seeing that some of it could just be the font you're using.
Okay.
And in Visual Studio Code, it looks like you might be hooked up to a nerd font, because I'm seeing some of it in the prompt, but not all of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Things like that.
I've dealt with that too, actually. It's been fun. So here's what I'm going to do real quick, because I'm just going to show.
Yeah, go for it.
That if you were to go to the YouTube channel, you can find this is an upcoming show, and this is just everything that the producer, well, the CLI did for us was updated this, it updated all of this. And so we kind of have a couple things working together. Based on the idea, we got the generated text. That was a different agent, and that built the MD file that you gave to the CLI.
Right.
And the CLI knows how to update this. So,
yep.
So that's cool.
Very neat. Yeah. So that was, I just wanted to kind of touch on that and bring things back to where we were. If you look at the title there, what we really want to talk about is we really want to focus on how can we take an existing transcript that we get, or not really, how can we generate a transcript, right? Because we have the video, and actually StreamYard still gives us the audio, so we can essentially bring down the MP3 version of our show, which has all the audio bits in it. And then there are services that we can use that we can then go ahead and start to transcribe that and get a full transcription back. So that's what we want to kind of run through here. Now, to set all of that up, I've done some pre-work, mostly because I wanted to make sure I got this working. So I've had issues with trying to get some of things like Azure Functions running inside of VS Code using the local storage account and all of those things. But I think we have this in a pretty good space. So what I have here is, this is my Azure Functions project. It has, initially it just had this transcript from audio file. And what that does is it has just one function in it right now. And that one function is triggered from an Azure blob. Now, that Azure blob that I have has this location for looking for the storage of a file. So if I drop a file into that location, it will automatically trigger this function to run, essentially.
Okay.
So all of that is cool. Now, you can certainly do this by doing, get the Azure Function tools on your machine and get it running. I did have to do that so that the functions run, but I did this all in the context of an Aspire framework. So I actually have our Aspire AppHost here, where I used it to help set up some things like the Azure storage, and we're using Azurite, which is a way of bringing an Azure storage account down and running it as a container inside of your Docker or WSL environment, however it is you run containers locally on your machine. When we did that, one of the things you should do is force it to do blob, queue, and table at certain ports. Otherwise, Aspire won't necessarily bring them all back onto the same port. So this kind of forces that issue. And then you'll see, might remember this from when we did some of the Cosmos DB stuff in the past, where we actually are going to persist the container. So we've got that location of the volume all created for us. So that's the Azure storage. And then specifically in here, we're also going to call out the blobs. Now, what that gives us is that now when we look at our Azure function, which is what we've got here, so we actually added that via basically calling out where the location of that CS proj is. And that's because if you'll notice, we're running using one of the .NET 10 features of a single file .NET run application, right? So we don't really have a project file, which is, if you think about it, that was how we would typically in here we would have said we would have had a permanent reference to something like projects dot whatever, right? But you don't have that because you don't have the projects file for the app host. So that's why we've got to kind of call it out directly using that. What else did we do? So we have our Azure storage that we're waiting for the storage because we want to make sure that storage in place before the function goes to run, because if that storage isn't there, that can cause a conflict. What else? And then we've also got a reference for the blobs.
I think this is an interesting idea to use Aspire in the C#, .NET Run support that you could kind of think of as like writing scripts, maybe. I mean, certainly if you're, I think this is really common, like say in Python and in plenty of other languages, where you just have a file that you just run.
Right.
And we've never really had that in C# until now. And what I think is interesting here is because I've used Azurite before, and as I was using it when we were still kind of on the crossover from the Azure Storage emulator.
Okay.
And the Azure Storage emulator had one big issue, is it was Windows only.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest problem with it. And so Azurite comes along and says, look, I'm cross-platform. But you kind of had to get Azurite started. And what I learned, so none of this probably applies anymore, is there were 3 basic ways to do it. They probably all still work, is that if you had Azurite installed, Visual Studio would pick it up and run it for you.
Okay.
VS Code, I would run an extension that would fire it up. In fact, that extension's still running in my VS Code, I'm sure. And the reason it's running is because at the bottom of your Visual Studio Code window right now, you can see kind of in the middle when it says Azurite table service, queue service, blob service. So it just provides those little ways to start it from there. And then the other way to do it was to run it from the command line. And so I would sit there like trying to figure out what's the developer workflow that I liked, but it's manual.
Yeah.
So when you brought this code up and I saw it was Aspire, like I immediately went, wait, what's the value of Aspire in a script? But now I see, oh, wait a second, because that way this will fire it up for us, and we don't have to sit here and worry about, do I have this installed, that installed, is it configured a certain way? You need Azurite.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Right. Exactly. So, and I think that line right there, run as emulator.
Yep.
We certainly have Azure Storage that lives up in the cloud, but that run as emulator, just like we had run as emulator for Cosmos DB when we did that, with the Project Orbital it's a long time ago, it seems. That ability to say, yep, and we need storage, and here's where you're going to find it. So this was super helpful because it was really this simple, getting it up and running. I think I had to bring down there was an Azure, I think there's an Azurite component.
Yeah, I mean, you can,
may not be a term.
You can install it with NPM, or you can install it with, yeah.
Or it might have been NuGet.
It can be a Docker container. And then I think the Visual Studio Code extension will install it. I mean, it's been a while.
Yes, that could be where I did it.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the one, because that's already installed. That's what
the extension will install it for you. Or you could use NPM, or you could get it off Docker,
Yeah, lots of different ways to get it. So that was the one that I used, was the extension. So close that back up. The other,
to be clear, I'm sorry, just to be clear, this is getting you an emulator that now lets you, and in fact, the code's right there saying it, is you basically have access to Azure storage without writing it up to the cloud.
Yes.
So you can write your code. You can write your code as if you were writing to Azure, but you're not. And, we were just talking about how development workflows, local versus emulated versus production type workflows. So,
yeah. So spot on. And I will, and what's great about it is you can actually access it via the Azure Storage Explorer, which is how you would typically go ahead and access Azure Storage that sits up in the cloud, but it also works for the local emulator as well. We're going to show that in a second. A couple of other things I want to show here first is when we think about functions, we usually have this local settings that has some information for us. Now, we'll talk about those things in a second. But this would be typically where you would wire up some of your local settings and your host settings here in your host JSON. And what's interesting is if we look at the program.cs, we're actually not doing that. We're using this thing here called an Azure Blob service. Well, what's that? That's something that we created ourselves. And if we go into here, it's actually taking in the configuration object and they've added some stuff to this here. Save transcript async. That doesn't matter. So what's down here right now, I'm just going to close this because that's stuff we're going to talk about in a minute. But this part here where we had our configuration, we have a reference to the configuration string that we would typically have sitting in our local settings. I think it's where we put it in local settings. It's been a while since I've done functions, but the idea is because we're kind of doing this in reverse, we're having Aspire control the configuration capabilities. We're going to inject that into the function instead of defining it inside of that function JSON and having it just use that there locally, because we wanted to pull from the Aspire or the emulator that got set up for it. So you might think, well, if we're doing the emulator, shouldn't it just be blobs? Because if we go back to AppHost, that's what we had here, right? The problem with that is, yes, if you're just looking at the blob, yes, you can do that. But the problem is that our function, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Where are you? Transcript from audio. That's it. Okay. It's because it's because we need the blob trigger. And when you're doing the blob trigger, you need the queue and the table. I'm just going to say, take all of the web storage stuff and use that. So I got to go back to here and here and redo that. So if I do the Azure Web Job Storage, I get access to all three, which is what I need. So that's why we're using that versus just using blobs.
Okay.
Makes sense?
So I guess what I don't know is how that config got set up.
So much like, so this was, I'm
guessing in prod, like you're in Azure. Well, maybe I didn't answer my question because I was just thinking in my head, I was thinking, why is it Azure Web Job Storage? But it's part of the integration, I suppose.
Exactly. So if I come down here to integrations, cloud providers, Azure Functions, this one down here, connect to functions. That's fine, accept all. So there is our blobs endpoint. So where our blob should be residing. We're reading, this is the bit here, we're reading injected values from your function. So this walks you through setting those pieces up. So there's the audio service that I set up. And then here they want us to run blob's endpoint configuration. But it turns out it's those are things that, as we see up here, these are values that Aspire host is going to, or the Aspire AppHost is going to give us because it's set up the blob storage bit. But because in troubleshooting this, that's not enough. So this part doesn't have in it is the fact that we're running a trigger as compared to this one. This one's an HTTP trigger, right? So that's why it's a little different than what's here. But this really walks through all of the things that you need to kind of set this up and do that injection from the
interesting. Local development without Aspire. Okay.
Right. So that's typically how you would set this up if you didn't have Aspire, Aspire running, which we do.
So that's actually the answer there, is that when you're doing local Azure Functions development, that's cool that that's included in here, because otherwise you're off to the races figuring out that is that local.settings.json is what Azure Functions picks up, but Aspire will inject its own configuration. Okay. That makes sense. And I think what you're saying is that Azure Functions itself, and I'm pretty sure I'm not sure if this is true of all Azure Functions, but I think it is Azure Functions itself uses Azure storage.
Yes.
For like just its little bookkeeping, like you said, triggers, queues.
Triggers, but also I believe for the code itself, because that it needs some place to store itself, because it's going to get spun up and instantiated, or it might even need to come back. So that having some place where all of your code essentially exists.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. Little detour there, but I was just wondering.
That's okay. I think it's good to walk through that, because those were, as I was trying to build this out, those were the issues that I was running into. So we don't have 3 hours to go through and debug all the issues as we go through it. So it's kind of hey, let's build a little bit and talk about what I learned as we went through it. So okay, and then here these things got added for once I got the actual triggering working, and it would create, or it would basically call the function. I needed to go ahead and add the additional capabilities that are in there. So transcript from audio, basically the part we just, that's what it was. We covered those up in here. Nope. Oh yeah, this part. So generating the SAS URL and then saving out the transcript. So we needed to go through the process of getting the transcript created. So if we go back to our transcript.
Yeah, and so just
go ahead.
A SAS URL or token is basically a way of saying, I want to create, it's in the form of a URL, but I want to create a token that gives access to something, and you can define the access.
Right.
It could be read, it could be read write. But I want to be able to, that token can be handed off to literally anything. And it now has that access, which is very different from perhaps assigning managed identities to parts in your storage where you're saying these users or these identities can access it. And when you look up shared access tokens, the first thing you're going to run into is a big box in the documentation that says, managed identities are a great way. And I think it's just because they're trying to get across the point of like, be careful, I'm pretty sure that these SAS tokens can, or maybe are required to expire. One way I like to think of it maybe is if you're familiar with Discord, you can send a Discord invite to someone, and that generates a little URL, and that URL can expire at a certain time. But anybody who has the URL can join the Discord server until it expires, or you could be dangerous and set it to never expire.
Right.
And So, but that's useful here. Like, I guess what I want to say is I don't feel like you're doing anything that's, I don't think you're doing anything that's unsafe, because now you're actually not granting this Azure function access. It's kind of saying like, hey, we're just going to generate a URL to talk to the piece that we know and we're aware of. Like, this is the work we're working on right now.
Right.
And then it'll go away in 24 hours anyway.
Right. But to your point, anybody who has that URL,
yep,
they're going to be able to access it. So and part of that is we're running local, so we don't really have managed identities that we could put in place.
Right.
Once we go to move this into Azure, we will have the ability to enable the cognitive services to be able to see that URL, which is the permissions that we essentially need to put in place. So I'm kind of less worried about this being here local again, because it's on local host. Nobody's going to be able to hit this environment.
I think you accidentally changed it to 2 hours. I did change it
down to 2.
Oh, okay. All right. Then we are 2 hours now.
Yes, from 24. But yeah, I mean, I probably should make it minutes, because you really need more than like 15 minutes or so to run through a transcript. Okay, that's fine. So what should happen here is we're going to generate that SAS. We're going to go to the transcription service, and that transcription service is going to, right now we don't have these values set up here, so we've got to do that. We need our search endpoint, and we need our speech key, so that we can get our audio back, or get our transcript back. And then what this is going to do is it's going to manage the process, because what happens is, and we should probably do, we go from here, we say Azure. I should have had the URL up ahead of time. Sorry about this. But it's going to be important to kind of talk through.
This is the batch transcription, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I actually, I have some URLs that I plan to put into.
Do you want to show them?
Do you just want the documentation here?
No, because I wanted to kind of show through. I wanted to show a couple things on it. Let's see.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know exactly which site you're heading to. Like, maybe it's that one there. A little more. Right. Yep.
So this overview one, the important part here is this section around the different ways you can do this. So there's real-time transcription, there's fast transcription, there is batch, and then there's custom. Okay. Real-time is not what we need. We don't care how long this really takes, because it's going to happen kind of behind the scenes, but you have the ability to certainly do a real-time transcription. So as Chris and I were talking, if we wanted to have the transcription get captured here, maybe we do a local, using the speech CLI, we run this locally and it comes off of, gets saved to a file as we go ahead and do that. There are things you don't get when you do that. And I believe it is things like, what was the thing that caught my eye? It's like, no, we don't want to do that. Real-time scripts. Describing spoken words for document. That's probably it.
Well, I think, let's see, batch transcription, like it says, analyzes calls. If I recall correctly, I don't think the real-time transcription would do things like dividing things into different voices, right?
Yes, that's exactly.
And that's like the part. And I think, I don't know if batch is the only one that does it. Maybe not. But I feel like that was the biggest feature.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So the diarization bit, different speakers in an audio recording, that's what we really want to make sure we catch. Phrase list is also something that you don't get in real time, I'm pretty sure. There should be a list here that goes through all of those, but I'm trying to recall from reading and kind of going through the various systems there. So a phrase list might be something that, if you think about the things we talk about a lot, like Aspire and .NET and Blazor, and having a list of those things, so that it makes it easier for the speech to recognize those. We don't have to worry about language detection, but batch translation is really, I think, where we need to be, because we can kind of set this up for what we need. We have an REST call that would go off and do the processing, and then we can get a response or periodically check in. And then once that response is finished, we'll get a status of it being completed. And then we can grab the actual transcription document that gets created as a result. So it's a bit of a long-term process, essentially.
So I think I don't want to just ratchet it down to speed. I mean, certainly we don't need it to be real time in this scenario. And it doesn't even have to be fast. And the word fast is relative, because I think you just said a little while ago that this completes in minutes, not hours or days.
Right.
And there is probably a price difference, but I'm not here to tell you that I've investigated that at all at this point.
Yeah, same.
And again, the batch transcription service seems to do, it seems pretty easy to use, because instead of breaking up the audio and sending it yourself through an API, you're providing it with a file, except that the way you're providing the file is through Azure storage, because you just can't simply give it a file.
Right.
And so in some respects, that just feels it's flexible for automation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that you can't automate the other methods. It's just, okay, roll up your sleeves. You've got more work to do. But this is like, okay, we got an audio file, get it up to blob, tell this service, tell our system where it is, the service takes over. So
yeah,
cool.
And if we wanted to, there's actually a CLI, a speech CLI, so we can actually put it down and run it locally, or run it in a container if we package that function up in container and have it, call that CLI capability there. So I think batch also opens us up to do custom speech. If we, want to go down that path and explore what it might mean to, create our own custom capabilities there, we could certainly do that too. So there's a whole bunch of usage examples. I know there's a spot in here where maybe it was down this. This talks about the performance bit. Maybe, no, it doesn't look like it's there. I was somewhere in here, I remember seeing a chart that kind of walked through them and things that were available in one versus the other. But maybe we'll look for that later. But I think in the interest of time here, what I want to do is, I think where we need to go is, that was weird. It said unsupported browser, so it may not work inside of the integrated browser here. So let me start building. Yeah. All right. Tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to come off of that.
I just switched out of it for a second.
Yeah, I did see that. I'm going to bring up my other. You can't see that yet. So I got what I was sharing was just my Azure. I'm sorry, I was just sharing my VS Code, and we were looking at integrated browser inside of VS Code.
Right.
So what I'm going to do here is come into. Let's go.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, the integrated browser, it was weird to see if it was working, or you'd have to re-authenticate anyway. So.
Right. Let's see. Actually, I think I had that there on the home screen. Let's see. Does it work? Yeah. All right. Let's I'm going to stop sharing that one. We're going to share this one. That and share it. Put it to the stage. Okay. Good?
Yeah.
Cool. Do that over here. There we go. So all I want to do is I want to get access to the Azure speech to text service, because that's what we need. So we need that that endpoint there. Playground's not going to help us. So what I need is that's a model. No.
Okay, so real quick, just when I'm looking through to figure out exactly what you're doing here, is that in order to use text to speech, this is now in the Foundry portal.
Right.
Used to be called Cognitive Services and maybe was living in the Azure portal, but I don't remember. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it used to be called Azure AI Foundry. It's now Microsoft Foundry. And what I'm looking for is...
And it says here that you select models, and then there's an AI services tab.
Mm-hmm.
So you select build from the top right menu, then models in the left pane.
Oh, is that from the guide?
Yeah, I'm looking at a guide here. And because I think, is it what you're looking for is how to find the AI services, or no?
I am looking for how to... Yes.
So there's an AI services tab here that shows Azure AI models. It's in the pane that you've generated. It's under the, it's hiding there. There it is.
Cool. That's what I need. There we go.
This was it? Okay, yeah.
So I need speech to text. And it would go ahead. So here is where it would let me upload audio. So I could actually upload our file here. That's not really what I want.
Yeah. I mean, you could use this to test things out, but
I could.
At some point you're going to write code and you're not going to have the Foundry portal in your code. Yeah. So
yeah. So here's the problem. So in order to do this, you might remember that there was one of the JSON files that we splashed up there where it wanted the URL to the service and it wanted the app key, or the API key. We don't do API keys in these subscriptions. Which is interesting. So here's the thing. Are you able to create an API key in your space?
Probably. Hold on. I need to switch over, or at least I need to get the portal up.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I got Azure. All right. So I think I'm logged in, but I may or may not be. Let me
Don't worry, do your screen and stuff.
That's what I'm trying to do, but it won't. Oh, that's right. I have to remove it first.
Yeah.
So, oops, wrong one. I shouldn't have to do any authentication here. Am I going to need a new project, or?
You could probably do it in the existing project, I would think.
Okay. Here's one. I need to go through and delete some of these projects. Okay. Now, first, is it first that I have to come over here and do...
No, you should just be able to do kind of what you stepped me through, the discover, models, and get to the AI services.
Oh, except that it wasn't discover. Because I thought it was build. Then.
Yeah, you're right. It's build, models, AI services.
But that's weird because I don't have models here.
What?
Hold on. I'm going to get the documentation up because I was looking at a quick start while you were working. Build from the top right, models from the left pane. Okay. So is there something about this? Yeah. You don't have to create an agent first, do you?
Shouldn't.
So yeah, when I click build, I cannot pick models. I can do here, but this doesn't help us.
All right. And
I can't understand why this isn't available.
Yeah, really.
Because you just showed it on your screen.
Mm-hmm. And there's nothing magical. That's been there for a while.
Right. See, here it's deployments. And then I have AI services.
Okay. Interesting.
Was it this? When you walked through it, did it say models?
Mine did.
Huh. Okay. That's interesting that I'm getting a different UI. I wonder, it's one of two ways, right? Either things are switching or I'm behind. Okay. Anyways, AI services tab, and we want the text to speech. I need to click that, right? No.
The other way around.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
That's okay.
So I want speech to text.
Yep. And then I'm going to take you off screen.
Yeah.
Because we want, and then just drop them in the Discord and I'll be able to bring them up over here.
Where is the key? Is it in the code?
It was in the code. No, it wasn't in the code.
See, I'm wondering when it says your API key, is that just the API key for the project? Probably not.
No.
Okay, let me try this then. We want speech to text. Okay, I found it. So
yeah, okay.
And I'm okay with you showing this because the key's hidden.
Oh, okay.
So let me try to recreate where I was. Let's go back from the beginning here.
There you go.
So you come into your portal, you've got a project selected, you go to build. For some reason, mine says deployments and not models. Remains to be seen whether this is changing or I'm behind. Kind of weird. Then I want the AI services tab, and we want speech to text. Now, if you just click the speech to text link, it takes you straight to this playground.
Right.
But if I click the radio button selector here, then I get right here. I could open in the playground, which I think will take us right back to where it was if I had clicked the link.
Yeah.
And I get target URI and key. And this is what you need. Do you need the target URI too?
I need both. Yeah.
All right. So the nice thing about this is that from what I'm seeing here, this isn't going to get leaked, but famous last words. Okay. So that's how you get your target URI and key.
Yep.
To use in the app. And then if you just want to try things out, like this in some respects, this is kind of what the app is doing. Although this particular playground allows me to just grab any audio file, drop it in here, and let it transcribe it. Instead, that's being set up through the code that you're building there. So I don't know if you were ready to go back. I just
not yet.
Oh, okay. At
least not the show.
Yeah. Let me so there's definitely some links that I'm trying to gather for the YouTube description, such as using the Azurite emulator, creating a shared access signature. And then I was looking at this text-to-speech quick start where it said, go to the Foundry portal, build models, and so on. So choose a pre-built voice. So I suppose what this playground does, yeah. Oh, I'm picking text-to-speech. Sorry. This is the text-to-speech quick start, not speech-to-text. And this particular one, so there is a speech-to-text quick start, which I could click. Yeah. And it kind of says a lot of the same things like, hey, go to build, go to models, go to the AI services tab, and then they'll upload a file, get their transcription output, stuff like that. All right.
Cool. I've copied those values into a file, and I've closed that file because all you're going to see here is the endpoint for
oops.
Oh,
that's all right,
dude. I am sorry.
I'll just have to delete that project. I think that's the answer, right? Delete the project.
Yeah. Well, you should be able to redo the API. What happened?
It's cool because it was in streamer mode too.
Oh, was it?
Discord doesn't know about that. Like, it knows a lot of things, but it didn't know that.
Crud.
Hold on, let's see. Speech to text. Actually, I don't know how to regenerate it. I do not see a button to generate it. All right.
It's funny. I was going to say it'll probably be me who winds up sharing the key.
Well, can you run it real quick and then I'll delete the project because that's not an important project for me. As you can see, it's called home test.
Oh. Okay.
I think I'm almost positive that particular project was me running through like what I'd already done somewhere else, making sure that I knew how to what to click and all the things.
Okay. All right, hang on. Let me share my screen because we're kind of running up against it here.
We do have Stashu Korik joining us today, though.
Hey, Stashu. Hey, buddy.
It's been a while. Great to see you.
Yeah.
We're trying to fumble around with the speech-to-text service to see if we can get show transcripts, and then we could do more processing on those.
Yes. Okay. So, all right, we're gonna have to hold our breath here and see how this works. So I'm gonna bring up Visual Studio here so that I can use it. We're gonna go to this. We're gonna do the good old Aspire run. All right, so we're connecting to the AppHost. We're starting the dashboard. All that is good. What I'm doing over here, kind of off screen, and what I'll do here so you can see it when it happens is we'll run the dashboard. So you can see that we've got our storage account running. We've got our function ready to go. And then I think if I do this, it's all running local. I'm not worried about any of the data that's here, right? So we're kind of in a state where we're ready to do the thing. So if I do this and...
Okay, so it's waiting for a blob trigger at this point.
Exactly. So what I'm doing is I am deleting the blob that was there just because I'm going to upload the same file to it. Downloads. We're going to go here. I'm going to drop in the MP3. There you go.
Okay, so you drop the MP3 into on a different screen.
Yeah.
Basically into your storage account.
Yes.
The one at least that's associated with this whole project. And so this has been monitoring it.
And it kicked off.
And it did kick off.
But it's saying response code does not indicate success.
Yes. So possibly, oh, and there it is, 403 forbidden. So it just wasn't able to access what it was doing.
Let's see. That's a lot of forbiddens.
Yeah. I wonder if it has to do with my project, but I don't know that for sure. It looks like it blew up kind of early.
Yeah.
So yeah. See that? See how it wants to send some kind of request, and and I think right. So I'm gonna guess that your app doesn't have access to my Foundry project.
But that's what the API key was for?
Yeah.
So it shouldn't care what service is calling it.
Okay.
That was why I was thinking we could just jump over and use that. I mean, unless that speech to text service is not available.
I don't have to deploy it, do I? Or anything?
You shouldn't if the AI service was already there and ready to go. That's my recollection of it.
Right.
Yeah, because even the one that I have here, it's not. When you create a project, you get access to the AI services in addition to, in addition to any models you might want to drop, and that's consistent across. Just looking at the other ones that I have. Okay. Well.
It talks about needing the speech key in the endpoint, but you've already provided that.
Yeah.
And in their example of they set specific environment variables. Again, I don't know if the speech SDK is looking in the specific spot or if you overrode it. Oh, no. In fact, their example pulls those out. So no, that's not it at all.
Right.
It's not about the speech SDK.
For this, where I put this value, it's the same place I put the key.
Yeah, speech config.from endpoint, and you give it a URL with an endpoint and a speech key. So I'm guessing your code does that.
Let me try one other thing. Do that. I'm just going to double check something here. And then if this doesn't work, then this also might be a reason to get this up into the Azure environment. I'm gonna do it one more time. Got our resources. Okay. Everybody's running. Go back to Storage Explorer. Let's get rid of that file. Yep. Okay. I'm also going to do, Let's see. Okay. All right, let's just do this. Drop this file in. Same thing, forbidden. Crud.
Yeah. I'm not sure what you changed, so.
Just making sure I got the key in there right.
Okay.
So close. I don't think we're going to get one of those last minute saves here.
So, right, created the transcript for blob, transcript 1, MP3. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that it's complaining about, and so line 28 there, it's definitely trying to call something in my project, you know, in my Foundry project, which is different from like it's blowing up somewhere else.
Right. Yeah, and then looking at that is interesting. Well, hang on one second. Let's do this so we can at least get a win. We should be able to get a win from this. So if I take... You're not, I'm not on the stage, am I? There we go.
No, okay.
Okay. If I do this, oop.
Oh yeah, that isn't it cool how that doesn't always work.
Yeah, upload.
So the drag and drop target is in a weird spot. Yeah.
There. Like, why wouldn't I drop it there?
Here, before you drop it in. Oh, that's okay.
Oh, shoot.
I was gonna say turn on the speaker diarization.
Oh,
that's okay. It's already transcribing, so. So this is what
we did in the past, I think.
The script that you have, is, well, the scripts and the code that you have in the Aspire project, you're setting up to do this right here. This is just being done through the playground.
Yeah, so we don't have to manually push that along. And while that's happening, what I have done here and gotten at least deployed, but it's not necessarily working, is I ran the Aspire publish as well as the Aspire deploy. So it's all of these, the function pieces are actually up in an Azure environment where we should be able to wire up it with a to the blob storage that's up there, and to be able to call one of the cognitive services using managed identities, and we can do that next time.
Cool.
There you go. There we go. That sounds like us. It's got to be right.
Right. So where we're planning to go with this is, number one, we'll have the speech diarization on so that it knows the two parties talking. And then the purpose of getting the transcript is to move on to the next step, which is evaluating and doing things with the transcript. Like what our hope is we can use the transcript itself to identify reasonable chapters. And then we could go back to the YouTube API and update the description to get the chapters for us, or the API might do that. I don't know. So I've always thought of the chapters being driven in YouTube from just dropping chapter entries into the description, like you actually put the timestamps in. Right. I don't know if they have a different mechanism now. I just don't know. And because that still works. The quote unquote classic way that I do still works.
Yeah.
And then I think it could also, the other thing that the real neat trick would be if it could produce interesting shorts. So, you know.
Yeah, that I'm kind of excited to see if that's possible.
Yeah, we'll see.
So I know it's possible because, well, they certainly, I know there are different services that will look at your video and say, well, here's some suggested whatevers, but they're not always good. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting trying to figure that out. Okay. Well, cool. This is on its way. Yes. And I think probably in a future episode, we will see our apps using these services working. And at some point, we could probably get this into a state where it could be up on a GitHub repo that's public, perhaps. I think right now there's too much. There's probably either secrets or just things that maybe aren't segregated out correctly the way they should be in a project. So
there might be one or two of those. Yeah.
So figure your secrets out first, folks, you know?
Right.
There's like two things. When you start your app, figure out your authentication, figure out your secrets. Those are two things anyways. Maybe there's a third, and then we'll just add to it. Amongst our weaponry is figure out your secrets, get your authentication right.
Mm-hmm.
Fanatical devotion to the king amongst our weaponry. Yeah, that's anyways. All right. So, hey, thanks everybody for joining us. I know we're a little past 9. We're going to keep working on this during the week. And I think I sort of spilled the beans that I would also like to do the Asteroids clone called Space Rocks, which is a little simpler than the Circus Atari clone, because that clone, not that, the Circus Atari clone is great, but it's actually a little bit more advanced. Part of what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build up a repository that's a good mono game starter for folks. There have been some people in our comments who've said, hey, when are you going to do mono game again? And so start something simple like the Asteroids clone, move up to something a little more complex like the Circus Atari clone. And then I would actually like to do some 3D with folks. So
nice.
That'll be fun. Just little first person wander around a maze or something. I mean, look, there's no way that we're going to build something on the order of I don't want to say Doom, because that's definitely within reach. But and when I say Doom, I mean classic Doom games, not the current ones. But a modern 3D game. But it might be possible to do some demos that demonstrate some of the techniques, even if not, full blown. Hey, this looks just like 007 First Light or came out last week, and
right.
It's a lot of fun, by the way. So,
oh, cool.
In any case, thank you everybody for joining us. Don't forget, you can always watch replays at youtube.com/the-dev-talk-show. And if you have advice for us on anything we're doing, let us know in the comments. If there's anything you'd like to see, do it there as well. We definitely do read them, and when we get the time, we try to put them into action. So if that's all, thank you for showing us all of this today, Rich.
Absolutely.
It's really cool. And I like the fact that we're automating it all. Because yes, you can use CLIs, you can use playgrounds. That's cool stuff. But the idea is we can get all this automated and get a lot done for us. So definitely. In that case, cool. For Rich, I'm Chris, and we will see you all next time on the Dev Talk Show.